referenced a study that was shelved that had been done on Facebook. Describe that for a moment, because that was eye-opening.
Yeah, so this is pulling back in the mental library, Wall Street Journal in 2020. This was before their big Facebook papers, but it ended up being a part of their big Facebook papers report. The Wall Street Journal in 2020 reported on Facebook's internal research team. I'm paraphrasing and may get a couple details wrong, so don't sue me, just go read the actual thing. Facebook's internal research team, I want to say around like 2017, did a study to figure out what kind of content performed best on Facebook, what kept people on Facebook the longest. And their internal, Facebook's internal, not outside independent, internal research team came back and said, effectively, they had a whole PowerPoint deck that the Wall Street Journal got a hold of and published, said negative content, controversial content, content that ignited heated debates, performed the best on Facebook and was floated to the top in the algorithm. Basically, people were more likely to see conflict-oriented content than more chill content, if you will. And people stayed on Facebook and used Facebook longer if they engaged negatively with content than if they engaged positively with content. And I think the internal research team said that may not be good, that's the case. And Facebook said, okay, thank you, internal research team, for reporting that. We'll decide whether or not that's good. And they put it away and didn't do anything about it for some period of time. And it was never known until the Wall Street Journal, it was leaked to the Wall Street Journal a number of years later. Facebook says, we did change things. We changed it this way, that way. I mean, this was like if you think of the algorithm in like different points are assigned to different ways you can react to posts, right? You can react with like a frowny face or a heart, or like a frowny face was giving a post 3 points, and a smiley face was giving, or a like was giving a post 1 point. And it's so like if you think of it like a post gets ranked in an algorithm based on how many points it gets, it's more likely to be toward the top of your feed if it has a lot more points. And it was getting more points if people were reacting more negatively to it than if they were reacting positively to it. And so they were basically, Facebook knew that negative content kept people on platform longer. And so they kept floating negative content to the top to keep people on platform longer, sowing division and conflict and things like that. And that's a problem for like 100 reasons. Like that gets me more fired up than like these platforms favoring one political ideology over the other, because like this is bad for everyone. like this is bad for everyone. Like people talk about the biases of social media platforms, and they often mean political. And I'm like, but this is like worse. Like this is far worse for everybody. And I think there are a number of points to derive out of that. I think a couple are, we need to remember that these platforms exist to make money, not to serve us. Like we are not the customer, the advertiser is the customer, and we are the data product. And so like, if you ever get sentimental or feel good about like, oh, I just love Twitter or I love Instagram, they don't love you. Like they don't like you. They don't feel anything. You are fodder to them. Like you're nothing to them. Your data is everything, but you are really nothing. And the other thing is, beyond recognizing that we don't really matter. Secondly, we need to recognize that these social media platforms are designed to deliver us more deeply into our desires, not deliver us from our desires. And a lot of us desire conflict more than we desire peace. And these platforms are designed to like, oh, you like conflict? You clicked frowny face? Well, let me give you more frowny face content. Oh, you commented something nasty on that post from that political rival? Well, now you're just going to get more of that political rival's content. These social media platforms are sort of like recursive, like feedback loops. And a lot of times that's talked about like, they deliver you more into your biases. Yeah, but sometimes they can just like deliver you more into sin, like into like destructive, whether it's like lust, like you look at one picture of a woman who's dressed in barely any clothing and they just give you a bunch more of them, or you engage negatively with a political ideology and they just deliver you more of that. So it makes you more mad. Like these things are designed to deliver us more deeply into our desires, not deliver us from them. And even though we're Christians and we're hopefully leaving our fleshly desires behind, we're all aware that we're not. and we can sometimes get caught up in these things. So I think it's important for us to recognize that these platforms are not in favor of us. They're not out for our good. They're out for our eyeballs, and the ways they get our eyeballs are often not for our good.